my name is Rachel Howarth. This is a video to demonstrate the safe lighting of a fire. So I've already shown you that I have got my safe sighting for my fire, and I've prepared my bed here and then put some sticks down that are about a thumb's width for my sort of basic platform, and they'll offer some oxygen channels as well. So when starting a fire, you need to think about the fire triangle. So we've got fuel, heat and oxygen. So for my fuel today, I've gathered wood from the local forest, which is nice and dry, and I found it sort of overhanging in branches, bits that had fallen off and got caught in the trees, and some of it was on the ground. We've got our striker, which will provide our heat, and we've got our oxygen channels, which will provide oxygen for the fire. So I'm going to start with some cotton wool as my kindling, and I'm going to add on some of this natural kindling as well. We've got a little bit of sort of dried willow, and then we've got some very brittle sticks here for tinder, which I'm just going to lie on top, and hopefully that will give us enough fuel to begin establishing our fire, and then we'll add on more in a little bit when that gets going. So I'm going to use my striker to have a go at lighting that initial kindling and tinder. Get it right in there. It's just fallen down one of the channels. Let me replace that. A bit more up there. There we go. Okay. It's just starting to catch on that side now. So we don't want to smother the fire to begin with, but we want to make sure there is still plenty of fuel to establish. And you can see that the flames are starting to come up now, and we need to get some wood on there. When we're using Forest School, at Forest School, we want to make sure that the fire is manageable. We're not having a bonfire, we're having a campfire. So I'm going to put my glove on now and get some of these larger pieces of fuel on there. You can see they're very dry and brittle. Start catching. Okay. And I'm just going to keep this fire going now. Gradually adding more fuel. Going to use some of the larger pieces of fuel as the fire is now more established. But again, keeping it safe. We want to make sure that we're not having a bonfire. This is just a campfire. You can see that there is a breeze today. So we just need to be wary of the direction of flame and any smoke produced from the fire. We do not want to cause any hazards with smoke. So I'm just going to put on there. nice to have a fire at Forest School because it offers children a good opportunity to cook in a natural environment, as well as a shared responsibility for maintaining the fire and ensuring it's kept going. Oop. Keep this going by adding millful fuel. In a forest school setting, it'd be important to make sure your fuel is kept a safe distance from your fire to ensure that there's not a hazard of further wood catching alight. We've got quite a breeze today. More. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, more. It's important when you're gathering wood for your fire to think about sustainability. So you don't want to have a fire that you end up burning through a lot of the natural wood that you found on the ground, because animals and insects like to use that for their homes. So thinking about how often you have a fire, what you use your fire for, is very important to ensure that the local woodland is managed safely as well. When I light a fire, well, if I light a fire at Forest Schools, and as I've done here today, I've ensured everybody knows that I am using a fire. They know the fire pit is in use and the safety procedures surrounding that. For example, coming into the fire pit, we would have one entrance. The children would walk around the seating area, which is a safe distance from the actual fire pit itself. And on exit, they would walk around the seating area and use the exit. You might have a wind break for your fire pit to ensure that, like today, any embers are protected from any sort of gusts of wind, and it allows you to use the fire in different kinds of conditions. Starting to add a little bit more of the larger fuel, I think, from here. when we're introducing a fire at forest schools, it's very important to think about those safety procedures first before a fire is established. So talking to the children about the site that you're using, getting them to help you to find a safe site based on the things we talked about in the previous video. So, you know, the correct kind of ground, clearing the area, making sure there's no holes or animal burrows or homes down there, making sure there's sort of no dry debris and leaves on the ground. Just making sure the site is safe before beginning to build your fire pit. You might like to have a windbreaker around your fire so the children can be involved in building simple fences around the fire, adding those to ensure that the area surrounding it is safe. Having children sort of involved in singing songs around fire safety, and continuing that as part of your Forest School programme even when the fire is not in use. So if you go a few weeks without using your fire, the children still remember the basic principles of fire safety. So encouraging them to recall those even when the fire is not in use. Having a fire at Forest School is really good for developing teamwork. So children are encouraged to gather the wood themselves and think about what kind of wood they're gathering and if it's suitable for our fire. Encouraging the maintenance of the fire pit, ensuring the safety there, and also encouraging the children to kind of use it for cooking, campfire songs. It's a nice place, especially in the winter when the weather is cooler. It's a nice place to kind of calm and be cozy and together and talk about what you've done during your session. There are different types of fire lays which are important for different kinds of activities. So the hunter's lay would be useful for cooking. You need to have sort of two blocks either side of your fire to help you with cooking. I'll demonstrate that later on when I do some cooking on my fire. Oh, the sun's come out for us today.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much.